Welcome along to another episode of What a Shout. Bruce Millington standing in for Dave Orton, who's got his bucket and spade and having a hard-earned week off. It's the height of summer. We've got a fantastic racing weekend. One of the traditional big summer handicaps at Ripon. A superb race over in France. And then we've got York next week. Fantastic stuff. And we've got a great panel. First up, Paul Kealy. Paul, normally you'd be getting stuck into the racing this weekend, but you're at a wedding, aren't you? Are you going to be one of these sneaky wedding guests who keeps looking at his Racing Post app to check the results?
Well, thankfully, it's our weekend editor, Tom Park, and he's already insisted that we are definitely watching the Great St Wilfrid because he's punted my selection in that. I don't know why, but so I don't think there'll be much problem having a look at some of the racing.
Excellent stuff. And as always from our sponsors, Bet365, Pat Cooney. Pat, looking forward to some great racing in the next week.
Yeah, if you thought Saturday was good enough, you've got an absolute humdinger of a race on the Sunday. So, yeah, good weekend. Really looking forward to it.
Absolutely. And talking about that Ripon race, the Great St Wilfrid, we're delighted to be joined by Tom Dascombe. Tom's got 2 runners in that. We will be discussing them. Tom, thanks for joining us. How are the horses? Is life good at the moment?
Everything's great, and my little bitch had 5 puppies a couple of days ago, so everything's wonderful in life.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. It's great. We're really looking forward to speaking to Tom. Let's have a look what's coming up in a packed show. We've got Tom Dascombe letting us know about his chances in the big race this Saturday. All the hot topics. Find out what the boys want to get off their chest. We preview the big races of the weekend, including the Great St Wilfrid and a red-hot Jacques Le Marois down at Deauville. And I'm delighted to say Kevin Ryan joins us to talk all things York next week, plus, of course, the all-important naps. OK, so, Tom, I think it might have been 2008 when I first went up to the beautiful Manor House stables up there. How many years is it since you've been up there now?
Must be 10, 11 years.
Got to be at least that, hasn't it? Yeah. And it's gone from, this brand new lovely facility to something that really has established itself now, hasn't it? I mean, it must be a great place to train horses, isn't it?
It's a beautiful place to be. It's a beautiful place to live. It's a beautiful place to train. It's so quiet. Nothing ever, happens. You never hear any noise apart from the birds singing. And the cockerel wakes you up at about 3:30 in the morning.
Excellent. And Michael Owen, obviously one of the main investors there, is his enthusiasm for the game still as strong as ever? I mean, he just seems to absolutely love his racing, doesn't he?
He absolutely loves his racing. I haven't seen him for a week because I think he's been in somewhere. He absolutely loves it. Brilliant
stuff. So, Tom, looking forward to Ripon tomorrow at the Great St Wilfrid. 2 runners. Let's discuss them. First up, would I be right in assuming Lincoln Park is the kind of number 1 seed?
No, not really. I mean, they're both going there because they're owned by different people, and it's a race that suits both horses. Brad the Brief has obviously got group form and is dropping back for handicap, but as a result has to carry top weight. So we're claiming off him. He's well drawn in 3. And Lincoln Park goes there in great form, having won his last, couple of races. He seems very versatile. He's won over 5.5 and 7.5 for us. And when horses are in form, I think you run them. He's drawn 9, which should be okay. And they both go there with a real good chance. They both would rather the ground to be soft. So any rain would be a massive bonus for us.
Yeah, I think I'm looking at the forecast. I don't think there's too much expected. I mean, I think we've grown to be slightly sceptical about weather forecasts, but it suggests you might not get your wishes there. In terms of the draw, Tom, when you first see where your runners are drawn for a race like this, do you get stressed if they're on the wrong side, or with a race like this, how much do you think? I think the last 3 years they've all been drawn fairly high. So 3 and 9, are you relaxed about that, or did that cause you a bit of concern?
No, I'm very relaxed about it. I think that at Ripon on good, which may be faster than good, I think you want to be drawn low. And I would always want to be drawn high on very soft ground.
Absolutely. Tom, just one thing I want to ask you about. Obviously, we're back to normal pretty much now. Crowds are back. How much has it been? How much nicer is it now for you to see the owners enjoying the full owner experience? Because I don't think quite enough's been made of just how brilliantly patient so many owners have been during lockdown, and the fact that they were allowed to kind of pop in and spend an hour at the track and then go. But it wasn't the same, was it? It must be really nice now for you to enjoy that, liaising with your owners and having a drink with them and just really getting back into the swing of things.
Yeah, I think if you just take the last Chester meeting that we had, the owners' experience is completely different from the last 18 months, and everybody seems to be loving it, and it's just wonderful. I mean, any owner, they pay an awful lot of money to have a horse in training, and then they can't even go and watch the horse run or take their friends with them, and it's nobody's fault. I'm not blaming anybody. That was the situation we had. But now, I mean, our owners are gone mad. They can't wait to get back racing.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. Did you find that some race courses, I suppose this is a question that stands with or without lockdown, but during the restrictions, did you find there was quite a big variance between how some race courses looked after owners and how others did? I mean, there were one or two stories about certain courses, not really pushing the boat out and others doing a fantastic job. Was that your experience as well?
It was my experience, but I am assured that it's from the local councils, not from the race courses themselves. So I don't think there's anybody to blame for anything.
No, fair enough. And just talking about Chester, obviously a local track where you have so much success down the years. I bet it was great, wasn't it, the other Sunday when, the crowds were open and the old buzz was back?
Yeah, apart from it took 2 hours to get into the race course. But that's only because, there were just so many people going, and that's great. That's what we want, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We're going to be talking later on just about the Arc, but I want to get your view on it, Tom, just now, because although, it's August and we're looking at the height of summer, I can't help looking a couple of months ahead to this race at Longchamp in October. It's hotting up and potentially going to be an absolute thriller, isn't it? Right now, where would you be leaning towards?
I'd be leaning towards anything that's trained by Aidan O'Brien or Andre Farr. That would be,
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I mean, they're both top class trainers with great horses, and you'd have to, at this stage, they've probably got quite a few in it, and we've still got a long way to go. Who knows what's actually going to turn up? I'd be picking two of those trainers. One of those two trainers to be winning the Arc.
Excellent stuff. We'd love to know who you fancy to win the Arc. Let us know in the comments section. Right then, time for the hot topics. Right then, I'm going to kick off. I know it's not the highlight of the racing weekend, but on Sunday, a little piece of racing history is made. The final Fibre Sand meeting at Southall. I am going to miss it. I'm not sure everybody will, but as a keen winning distance is better, I like nothing than a small field race at Southall where the hot favourite, and I'd back it to win by 5 lengths, and it'd go clear and go miles clear. It's going to be ripped up after Sunday, and it's going to be turned into Tipster. I'll get a trainer's view on that. Tom Dascombe, how big a fan were you of Fibre Sand, and do you support the decision to replace it with Tipster?
I definitely don't support the decision. I was lucky enough to actually work for a trainer on the track many years ago, and I thought the surface is absolutely fine, and I think it's great to have a variety of racing in the UK, and I'm disappointed that we're going to lose the Fibre Sand.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. Paul Kealy, I think you want to talk about jockeys, don't you? Fire away.
It's just a case of, we was all talking about how competitive it was earlier in the season, but Oisin Murphy's just won already, isn't he? I mean, he's just riding winner after winner after winner, and he's 12 ahead. I think he's only going to pull further ahead, isn't he? He's riding like he's much the best jockey in the country at the moment, and I just say it's all over. Crown him now.
think it's looking that way. I think I looked on Pat's firm last night, Bet365. I think Oisin Murphy's 10's on. As you say, Keels, it started off looking like it's going to be one of the most competitive Jockeys Championships in many years. And Oisin Murphy,
20 winners in the last fortnight.
Yeah.
No, it's just, he doesn't need to ride it anywhere near that level to win easily. And as long as he keeps suspension and injury free, which you can never rule out, obviously, then he's just not going to get caught, is he?
No, absolutely not. And it's probably a good time to talk jockeys with Tom, because obviously, Tom, one of them, what I would call one of the most underrated partnerships in racing, the Dascombe Richard Kingscote, it's not ended, but it's partially ended. Richard Kingscote's going to ride more for Sir Michael Stout now. Tom, first of all, I mean, I know Tom Siegel, our flagship tipster, he puts huge emphasis on jockeys, and he always thought that Kingscote was very underrated. And I think you spoke very warmly about him this week. I guess it's good that you're still going to be using him, but it does cause a bit of disruption for you now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, but I mean, it causes less disruption because jockeys can only ride at one meeting. No, I mean, Richard and I, we've had a wonderful relationship. We still have a wonderful relationship. And he's just chosen not to take the retainership, so he doesn't have to ride everything for us. And that's his choice. That's fine. We're still great mates. He'll still continue to ride for us, and we will use the best available. But, you can't do 2 meetings a day anymore, so it makes less difference.
And how does it work in practicalities, really, Tom? Do you find that you're getting inundated with jockeys' agents now saying, can this one ride yours? Or do you try and plan ahead and go after particular jockeys? How does that relationship work?
We have a couple of jockeys that ride out here on a regular basis, and we use those as much as we possibly can. But I just tend to sort of, where the horse is running. If it's running at Ripon, you probably want, your Paul Mulbrennans of the world or whoever, if it's running at Salisbury, then you want David Probert, and that's the sort of way we're trying to work it now.
Brilliant stuff. And Pat, what do you want to get off your chest?
Yeah, Bruce, it was about the Shergar Cup, and it's amazing, really. We talk about the Shergar Cup as though it's this new-fangled idea, but I think we've come up to about 20 renewals of it all. And I was just thinking, looking at the figures that we had on over the weekend from Saturday, and I think there's still areas that it can be improved. I think, the reserves were eligible to race up until 1 hour before they advertised off, and that switches an awful lot of punters off, because you might have the only front runner in the race is the first reserve, and punters are thinking, oh, hang on, I'll wait till the hour to go to see if it is actually going to run and so forth. So I would do away with the reserves. And rather than have 10 runner races, I would make them 12 runner races and maybe get a fourth jockey in each team. Currently, there's 3. Saturday was a bit unfortunate with the ground, but this is merry old England after all, isn't it? The last race, I think there were 9. The penultimate race, there were 8. So I think if you do away with the reserves, everyone knows what's going to run and so forth. I know people say, oh, it's only 6 races a year, don't worry about it. But it's still a very, very unique day's racing. And no reserves, please. I know they have them in Ireland, but not in England. I think another fourth jockey, get another, well-known jockey, take advantage of it. So I think there's still areas to improve in it. But overall, I do like the concept. And, it's going to be 21 years old next time.
21 years old, incredible. And Tom, before we let you go, thank you so much for joining us today on What a Shout. Just a quick word on team competition, Shergar Cup. We've got the Racing League as well. Are you in favour of these innovations?
Sort of. I think horse racing should be an individual sport. If you've got a pacemaker in a horse race or whatever, it's sort of almost allowed. But if I ran 2 in a race at Wolverhampton and one set the pace for the other, it wouldn't be allowed. I think that we need to get away from this idea of female jockeys teams. I think they're jockeys. The fact that they're female is a total irrelevance. So I can see its use or purpose, but I personally don't really agree with it.
No, I think that's a great shout about the female jockeys, that, we've gone past making this distinction. I was at Lingfield last night, and I think five of the 12 horses in the last race ridden by females. And I just think now we've got to that stage with Holly Doyle and Hayley and everybody else. They're just jockeys. So I absolutely couldn't agree more. Okay, let us know what you think on any of those topics, plus who do you think will win the Arc? And also, we'd like to know your view on data. There's been more talk this week. There needs to be more data in racing. Everyone's looking at XG in football and saying that we need to apply more kind of data points and that kind of thing in racing. Do you agree with that, or do you think it potentially complicates it? We'd love to know. Post your comments below. Tom Dascombe, thank you so much for joining us on What a Shout. Good luck at Newbury today. You've got a couple there. That's really exciting. Good luck in the Great St Wilfrid and also at York. We'd love to have you back on the show. Have a great weekend, Tom. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks very much indeed. Thank you. Cheers.
Right then, let's get stuck into the weekend racing. We'll do the Great St Wilfrid at Ripon shortly. But first of all, two really good races at Newbury on Saturday, starting with the 220. It's the Bet Victor Jeffrey Freya Stakes, a Group 3 over a mile, 5.5 furlongs. Pat Cooney, give us a latest from Bet365 and tell us who's going to win it.
Well, it's all one-way traffic at the moment, Bruce. Hookham is the favourite at even money, then 5-1 bar. It should be a good each-way betting race, this. You've got the dead 8 in the race and, and a worthy favourite. But Hookham, yeah, he won this race a year ago. I think we all penciled him as a possible St. Ledger winner after that. That didn't work out. But he's kept in training. He was back in business last time out. He won well at York. He has got that £3 penalty, though, for winning the Group 3 last time. But you look at his overall form, and I think on official ratings, he's £8 plus in hand of the field. So there's a lot to like about him. The ground's not going to be a reason to get him beat. I think he's a real solid favourite. We're currently round about evens. I can see him being odds on. I think the form book says he should be odds on at any rate. So horses that have been popular after him, I think the likes of Golden Pass, Hugo Palmer, his horses are in top form. He's been the each-way alternative in the race. But Hookham, this is one of these favourites. As a bookmaker, you're trying to find reasons to get him beat. And I don't know, it's tough to find a way to get him beat, I think, at the moment. So a worthy favourite. He would be my selection in the race for sure. And I think if you can get odds against him, you'd be getting a degree of value.
I'm sure Paul Kealy has been feverishly trying to get Hookham beat. Have you been successful, do you think?
No, I always try with these favourites, but I mean, he should be 2s on, shouldn't he? He'd be nearer 2-1 on than evens on the day. He's by miles the best horse in the race. There are literally no negatives with him. He's extremely consistent. He's won 2 of his last 3, finishing 3rd to Wonderful Tonight in a hardwick that worked out brilliantly. It's just an ace piece of form. And he's miles better than them. And the fact that we've got a 4-year-old who is completely untested as second favourite and actually has form to make up on most of the others tells you that this is a pretty weak field. He's only won a listed race, Golden Pass. He's only rated 102. He's got a huge amount to find, even with some of the others, you like Pablo Escobar and Red Verdon, and without a fight. So, if Hookham was out of the race, I'd be saying Golden Pass was a favourite to lay at the prices. I think Hookham will be nearer 2s on than evens.
2 strong votes then for Hookham. Are you going to roam with the lads, or are you going to try and find one to back each way against him with the dead 8? 3:30 at Newbury is the Bet Victor Hungerford Stakes. It's a Group 2 over 7 furlongs, and this looks pretty competitive. Pat, give us a show.
Yeah, at the moment, Al Sahale, Charlie Appleby, William Buick, good place to start. He's been well backed at the start of the week. Now, it's a bit of a strange one, this, because at the start of the week, Charlie Appleby had Space Blues as well. All the early money was for Al Sahale. He's around about 9-4 at the moment, but that was just a case of just thinking, he's definitely going to run. We'll protect his price and so forth. I don't see him being any shorter than 9-4 at all. He's not even the top-rated horse in the race. So this is one of these favourites. And the whole betting on the race, I think, is just going to concertina together. He can still win, of course, but, this is a Group 2. You'd be hard-pushed to say he merits being such a short-price favourite at the moment. So I think there's value at alternatives in the race. You've got horses like Danya, who is probably going to be a group horse in time. He's one of these rapidly improving handicappers. You can say likewise Mutakail, who is the top rated in the race. Perhaps he's more of a new market horse. So I just think this race is a lot more open than it looks. My eye is drawn to Nijord of Jessica Harrington, Chris Hayes, the pocket rocket aboard. Disappointed at Galway last time out, but some of his form is okay. Second to Kinross, second to Order of Australia. So I don't think he should be a double figure price for this. This is one of these where we're still in that anti-post liability mode with the favourite. He'll be easy to back on the day, I'm sure. Can win, of course. But there's some talented horses, and there's not much between quite a few of these who are at big prices. So it's going to be a lively market, this one, from here on in.
Yeah, it looks an interesting race, and Pat just favours the Irish raider Njord. Paul Kealy, where are you thinking of investing your cash now?
Yeah, I think Pat's got it spot on with the market here. I mean, it's crazy. It's a massive overreaction to Space Blues not running. I mean, all the money came for Al Suhail. He was actually a bigger price at the start of the week than both Dania and Motorkale, and now he's less than half the price of both of them and doesn't deserve to be. He's rated 111, Daniel's 112, Motorkale's 117. And of course, he's officially, Al Suhail is officially the same horse as Njord. And we've got 2 or 3 others rated 110, so it is quite tight on the figures. I don't believe Motorkale is as good away from Newmarket as he is there. I don't know why. He just seems to love it. He's won 2 Bunbury Cups very easily. Was well in the handicap at Ascot last time and couldn't cope with Dania. Jim Crowley's chosen Dania. I think he will make the step up straight away. It's unusual for a handicapper. They normally take a little bit of a while to get used to the different pace scenarios when it comes to dropping into group races, but he's actually a forward-going handicapper who made all at Ascot last time, so it's going to bother him less than most because he can do his own thing up front. And every race he's running this year has been really good. There's second in a quality handicap at Newmarket, second again in the Buckingham Palace at Ascot before winning the International on King George Day. I make him the one to beat, really. I can't understand Al Suhail's plays. He's a definite drifter. I can see Njord. He's an old favourite of mine. He just doesn't win as often as I think he should. But he's a talented horse. He probably needs a strong pace to run at. I'm not 100% certain he'll get it. I'm hoping Daniel will make it all himself.
Okay, cheers, Kills. I've got one more question for you, by the way. Have you landed yourself a little job on the side as a car park attendant? What's going on with that shirt?
That's a golf shirt.
All right. It's very snazzy, I must say.
Yes, agrees. Thank you.
Oh, that's it. The missus hates that shirt. I get some grief from my golf gear. I've got a green and black Sunderland's golf Mac, and I go into Morrison's and I get asked where everything is on the shelves and get things up. So maybe somebody else should do my shopping for me.
I didn't choose that either.
Blimey, we're getting heckled by Mrs. Kealy. Excellent stuff. We'll be looking ahead to the big race at Ripon in just a moment. Okay, the big betting heat on Saturday takes place at 3:45 at Ripon. It's the William Hill Great St Wilfrid handicap over 6 furlongs. Traditionally a very, very tricky race to suss. And this year looks no different, does it? Pat Cooney, take us through the market leaders and then try and solve it for us.
Well, the market is currently headed by Mr. Wagyu, and then it's Staxton, Lampang, Music Society, etc. I was intrigued by Tom Dascombe earlier on in the show. He's got 2 runners in the race with both relatively low numbers, and he was perfectly happy to be that side. I think recent winners have been drawn high numbers. So I think when the final decks came out, we were thinking, oh, we're bound to lay the high number horses. Maybe that's not the case. And in fairness to the makeup of the race, a lot of the protagonists at the head of the market are single figure stall numbers. But Mr. Wagyu's an interesting runner. We've got a few stats gurus in the office, and sometimes they say things you think, oh, I can't believe he's just said that. But with Mr. Wagyu, he's won 13 times in his whole lifetime. All of them have been in June and July, and he's never won in August. So they've been with him for the last couple of months, and they're against him this time around. I'm not sure about that one, but he's a popular horse, and he was a well-backed winner last time out. Antipost Lampang has been popular, and this is a horse who fluffed his lines at Goodwood last time out, and he wasn't beaten too far. You can make a case out for many of these, can't you? Staxton won it a year ago. He's been a bit hit or miss since, but this race has been on his radar since. I think Music Society is a solid option for Tim Easterby. He's 10-1. He ran well enough at Goodwood last time. He's the type of horse that will win this race. But in terms of what will be favourite, I think Mr. Wagyu will win. But it's the August version of Mr. Wagyu, so our stats gurus say, and he's not so good. So a real head scratcher.
Yeah, I saw that Mr. Wagyu stat earlier this morning, and it is so pronounced, isn't it? That the difference in his June and July record compared to the rest of the year, that you almost have to sit up and take notice. I mean, Kills, on that one, is that one of those stats that is just a bit of an oddity, or does it make you think, hang on, this is a real negative?
Well, I mean, it's one of these cases when you get a sprinter, they run so often, and at some point they reach the end of their tether, don't they? I mean, he certainly didn't look like he had, and it was the 31st of July. Would he not have won if it was a day later? No, he obviously would have done. The thing is, that was borderline heavy ground at Goodwood last time, and whether that's taken a lot out of him, he's obviously gone up in the handicap as well. So there are, if he doesn't win. I wouldn't say it was because of August, but he has had a hard race.
Who will win then, Kills?
Right. Well, first thing you've got to look at is the draw, and I think Tom Dascombe's right. They may have been higher the last three, but they were well handicapped horses. When Staxton won last year, the second, fourth, fifth, and sixth were all on the far side. When Dakota Gold won from 15 in 2019, the second, third, and fourth were all on the far side. And when Gunmetal won by half the track in 2018 on the stand side, the second, third, fourth, and fifth were all on the far side. So I don't think there's much in it. And the last time a sprint handicap field was big enough for a split, 4 horses went to the far side rail, and they finished first, second, third, and fifth, and that was in June. So I wouldn't worry about being drawn low at all. I have backed Lampang. I think he's an improving horse without necessarily having the form figures to suggest that. I mean, form figures recently of 1020 suggest a horse who's very much in and out. But after he won at Hamilton, he was 10th in the Wokingham, but he was actually second on his side to Punch Bowl Flyer, who won next time. I don't think a neck second to Danzino is any disgrace, especially if he was badly off at the weights in a conditions event. And then last time in the Stewards Cup, he absolutely blew the start on the far side, which was definitely the wrong place to be, and had no chance at all. But in another couple of yards, he would have been second on the far side. So I think he's run a pretty big race. I think if he gets the splits and breaks well enough this time, he's going to be a massive player. He's a 4-year-old who I think is improving. I don't think this is the best Great St Wilfrid we've seen, and I really fancy him quite strongly.
Excellent. Thank you very much, chaps. So we've heard from Pat, we've heard from Paul Kealy. Now let's hear from a man who might even train the winner of the race. We're delighted to be joined now on More to Shout by Kevin Ryan, who has just another bottle in the Great St Wilfrid. We'll hear about his chance first, and then really looking forward to talking to Kevin about his chances at York next week, where he's got stacks of runners and hopefully some really great chances. Kevin, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Just another bottle, good old boy. Can he bounce back, do you think, and play a part at Ripon tomorrow?
Yeah, look, he's a funny horse. He's an older horse now, and he's his own mind about it. He's still got the ability. And so we thought he was in at Newmarket, but Great St Wilfrid is worth a lot more money, so he is going to pop up one day. So we thought we may as well take our chance for the bigger pot.
And happy with the draw?
Yeah, look, the draw at Ripon is sort of where the pace is, and obviously they're split into 2 groups, and and he's a fast horse himself, so it's always a quandary to draw, but there's plenty of pace with him, so hopefully that won't be a problem.
Okay, Kevin, so runners really in good form, 50 up for the year. Congratulations for that, and going into York with loads and loads of chances. Now, one of yours who I was really excited about and looking forward to back after a cracking comeback run at Goodwood was Glass Slippers, but she's not going to go for the Nunthorpe now. What's the latest plan for her?
Great form, delighted with her run at Goodwood. She came there, looked like it had a real winning chance and just needed a run, just went for her guards, and we were absolutely delighted with her. She had a tiny setback, which then she missed Ascot, so we didn't rush her back. And the plan was to use Goodwood as a stepping stone for the rest of the season. And in discussion with the owners, Terry and Margaret, decided that we'd take the same route really as last year and go to Ireland with her. And it's tried and tested and proven, and we've got the option hit our sprint, obviously Abbey, and then Champions Day at the end of the season.
Brilliant stuff. Great to hear that she's come out of that Goodwood race well. It really was a cracker. I'll tell you a horse who's really had a great season, 2 fantastic runs, is Juan Elcano. Will he take his chance in the International, or have you got another alternative for him?
No, we're going to let him take his chance. It's obviously it's a big step big gap to close really. But he's in great form. I thought he ran very, very well last time. Very muddling race. There was a pacemaker in there that didn't pacemake, and it was a very stop-start gallop. He was a little bit keen early, but it was great that he showed that Ascot there was no fluke, and it was another very credible run. Look, the Juddmonte is a tough race. It might lack the runners, but it doesn't lack quality. And but we couldn't be happier with him, and we're going to let him take his chance.
Excellent. Pat, I know you're excited about one particular race in terms of Kevin Ryan's runners, so far away.
Yeah, Kevin, you've won the Gimcrack 4 times, and certainly 3 in recent times as well. Actually, I noticed you've got 4 entered in the race at the moment. What are your plans and what are your hopes for them?
Gives us a sub will run, and probably Ryan's Party. Not Ryan's Party, but Gives us a sub will definitely run. And Spit and Feathers, I'd say, will probably run as well. Gives us a sub. I sort of cocked the race up at Goodwood. I was thinking there was going to be loads of pace in the race, and I told Stocky to make sure and get cover, and I didn't want him blasting up front with 2 or 3 others, and it was the complete opposite. There was no pace, and he was very keen for the first 2 furlongs, and he's only beat 2 1/4 lengths. And in hindsight, if I'd let him use his stride, there's a fair chance he might have won. So I think we'll go back to simple tactics at York, and basically just let him use his stride. He's a big striding horse, and very much looking forward to running him. Spit and Feathers, he won nicely at Carlisle, ran the green through the race, but took an awful lot pulling up, and he's a horse we do hold in high regard. He has to step up and on the form he's shown so far, but he's improving with every week that passes. So there they are too for the Gimcrack, and I'm sure they're going to both run very credible races.
Fantastic. Kevin, 2 more questions quickly. One, how much are you looking forward to next week with packed crowds on the Naves Mile, hopefully decent bit of sunshine, and just feeling like the good old York is back with us again? It must be a really good thing to look forward to.
Yeah, it's just back racing with the crowds and back talking to you guys, and it just feels like the last 18 months hasn't happened really. As you put it out of your mind very quickly, and as we know, it has happened, and everyone has been through a tough time, and look, we've come out the right side of it, and the owners have been very, very patient, and it's great to see the owners and the crowds back at the races and the atmosphere, and it's very much looking forward to York next week. York without a crowd last year was very, very eerie place to be, and it's a big meeting that we look forward to, and I think the horses are in very good shape going into it. You always like the form of your horses to be good going into that meeting, and they are running very well, and hopefully we might make a winner or 2.
Well, that was my next question. Most importantly, What a Shout viewers, I'm sure, are saying, ask him who's going to win, ask him who's going to win. If there's one horse that our viewers should be looking at to back next week from your yard next week, Kevin, who would it be?
I think now Throne Hall is coming back to 1.5 miles. We've tried him over 1.6 miles, and I don't think he stays it. We're coming back to a tried and trusted trip. He's a horse that I won off, and I think he's up to running a big race, and he's in great form coming into the meeting.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Kevin. Thank you for joining us on What a Shout, and all the best this weekend and at York next week. Cheers.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
Right, as if the Great St Wilfrid and York next week weren't enough, on Sunday there is an absolute cracker over in France at beautiful Deauville. It's the Prix Jacques Le Marois. I will not mention the sponsor's name as well, because that is a big test of my O-level standard French. Takes place at 2:50 and the trip is 1 mile. And what a field we've got. We've got Palace Pier. We've got both the 1,000 and the 2,000 guineas winners. It's going to be an absolute cracker, Paul Kealy. Who do you fancy?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say Palace Pier will be fav, but it is a really, really good race, and I'm going to take a chance, I think, on Poetic Flair. I think you've got to give Jim Bolger and the horse some credit for the campaign he's had. This will be his 6th Group 1 in the space of 3.5 months. He certainly hasn't dodged a race, and he's run on anything from heavy ground to good to firm. I think good to firm ground is what he needs to show his very, very best, as we saw when he absolutely scooted home in the St James's Palace at Ascot. He wasn't so good at Goodwood last time on soft ground behind alcohol free, but he wasn't bad either. He still tried his heart out, and I think that's what you've got to love about him. And they're saying the ground is good to soft in France at the moment, but I always think French form, if you look at French form, it says soft, it's good to soft. If you look at good to soft, it's probably good. And there are 3 dry day forecasts and fairly warm tomorrow. So I think it'll end up being on the quickish side, which will be absolutely perfect for him. It's not going to hinder Palace Pier either, but I think he's going to have a massive chance. And I mean, it's cracking race. Wouldn't rule out Alpine Star either. She obviously needed that comeback at York when beaten at odds on, but she was really strong at the finish. I think she's going to come on for that. And she's got some good form. She was only beaten 3/4 lengths in the race by Palace Pier last year. So it is a warm race. It's not a gimme by any stretch of the imagination. But I'm beginning to really admire Poetic Flair, and I hope he gets the job done again.
Yeah, I actually think I would mark up Poetic Flair a bit for what he did last time, because I think he's really ground dependent and cut does not suit him. So I agree with you. I thought that Goodwood run was excellent. This is some race, isn't it, Pat Cooney?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Palace Pier, when we got to the lock-in in May, and he won that, he beat the lovely Lady Botham. There was a case for saying this is the best horse in the world, wasn't there? I mean, this was before all the 3-year-olds came out and started strutting their stuff over 12 furlongs and so on. He then won at Royal Ascot, and I was like, yeah, he won. He was, 7-2 on. He won by a length and a half from Lope Fernandez. And I just thought, I don't know if this is the best horse in the world anymore. He's not run since Royal Ascot. That must be a bit of a concern, I suppose. And you go back to last year, he only beat Alpine Star by 3/4. So, yes, he's favourite. Yes, he deserves to be treated and rated very highly. I just don't see him as a betting proposition. You've got Poetic Flair who's going to serve it up to him for sure. And I just look at Alpine Star. She tends to get beat in a photo finish in Group 1 races, and she just hasn't had a great deal of luck. But she comes here as a fresh filly. She ran okay at York, given it was her first run of the year. I'd rather be an each-way backer of Alpine Star than a backer of Palace Pier, round about evens or odds on for sure.
And not even a mention of Mother Earth, who obviously won the 1,000 guineas and also followed up in a Group 1 last time. What a cracking race the Marois is going to be. Right then, let's get the naps before we wrap. If the boys were only going to have one bet this weekend, who would it be, Pat Cooney?
Yeah, I'm going off to Doncaster, the 3 o'clock Dance Fever, Clive Cox. This fella ran ever so well in a competitive handicap at Ascot, and that race was won by Danyar. Now, Danyar might have come out and won a group race at Newbury by the time this fella runs. So a good effort, a hot handicap, beaten by a very talented winner. William Haggers is a runner in the race, Mota Wajid, who's one of these unexposed types. He's sure to make the market. So Dance Fever brings rock-solid handicap form to the table, and I expect the mighty run from him.
Paul Kealy, who's your nap?
Yeah, 255 Newbury. I have a feeling Eratus might be a little bit better than the handicap. He's only lost once. That was on his debut last year. He was a 2-year-old. He actually got beat by the 125 to 1 shot, but that was Udalali, who's now rated 103. Behind him was Mithras, who's 98, and Aryan Power, who's 101. Since that, all he's done is win 2 novice races very easily. One by 3 1/4, the other by 7.5 at Donny last month. And it's one of those, it sort of could be anything. I think the handicapper may have underestimated with a mark of 94. And, you know, although he's going to be fab, I thought roughly 9-4, 2-1. I think he could be much better than a handicapper.
Okay, I'm going to go to Newmarket, 305. Great Ambassador ran a great race to be third in the Stewards last time. We talked to Tom Dascombe about Richard Kingscote earlier in the show. Richard Kingscote rides this one for Ed Walker, and I think Great Ambassador will give us a great run for our money. Okay, that's it for another great show. Thank you very much to Pat Cooney, to Paul Kealy. Thanks especially to Tom Dascombe and to Kevin Ryan. Great to have those on. But most of all, thank you to you for watching. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Don't forget to bet responsibly. Dave's back next week for another What a Shout.